Good evening, everybody. My name is Yazmin Hernandez. This is OS 355 Project Management, and my project is Protected Health Information for Adult Patients. Over the last several years, the organization has been providing more services to patients 18 years and older. Because we are generally a pediatric hospital, many of the consent forms we have do not apply once patients reach the legal age. One of the more frequent issues has been communication between the staff and someone other than the patient due to having the incorrect consent forms on file. Some departments have a better flow with less errors. However, for this process to remain consistent, it needs to be standardized. The project will also include patients who may be of legal age but have been identified by the court system as physically or mentally unable to make critical decisions on their own behalf. Over the last several years, there has been an increase in patient complaints regarding HIPAA violations, miscommunication between the staff, which causes delays in care, and dissatisfied patients when incorrect information is provided. The purpose of this project is to correct the inconsistencies between the departments when obtaining proper consent for disclosure of protective health information. And this applies to the patients who are of the legal consent age of 18, older than 18, or identifying those patients who are getting ready to turn 18 so that we can prepare to obtain the correct information for them. And then this project will also develop a flagging system in the electronic healthcare record that will aid in identifying these patients. Change requests to the project must be made in writing. The change request form is to be completed and emailed to the project manager, at which point the request will be reviewed and discussed by the project team. The executive sponsor will approve or deny the request, and should the change be approved, the team will then make the necessary adjustments to the project. The project will provide a streamlined process to be used across the organization. By adding flags within the electronic health system to quickly identify patients who have reached 18 years of age, it will help to decrease human error, avoid legal issues like violation of HIPAA laws. It would also enhance communication between the staff because typically during clinic hours it is difficult for the administrative staff to communicate with the clinical staff, and the use of shared sticky notes will help with that communication. And this project will also help to maintain better accuracy of demographic information. The project team will meet once a week to discuss the status of each deliverable, which will be facilitated by the project manager. An email distribution list titled PHI Confidentiality Project Team has been generated to include all project stakeholders. Most communication will take place during these in-person weekly meetings, with pertinent information being shared via email, and to be followed by a discussion at the next in-person meeting. Because the IT analyst assigned to the project is based out of state, she will join the team for the weekly meetings via Zoom. Most project teams are made up of people from different departments, from other organizations, and all with different personalities and expectations. To ensure that there is mutual understanding, I felt it was important to outline the expectations of our meeting conduct at the beginning of each meeting. And some of these items include like coming to the meetings with a positive attitude, treating members with respect, both during the meeting, outside the meeting, talk one person at a time, limit side conversations, be patient, listen to others, be respectful, respect other people's ideas, and try not to judge. Other forms of communication like email and informal communication should be kept to a minimum unless it is absolutely necessary for the sake of the project. And for email communications, it's only going to be used for pertinent information, like time off or unexpected time off, or just any information related to the project, but it must be sent to the email distribution list, the PHI Confidentiality Project Team. Informal communication will happen. It's not ideal, but it will happen. However, if this does take place, then it needs to be communicated with a follow-up at the next meeting. The increase in patient complaints regarding possible breach of confidentiality has moved the urgency of this project to the forefront. Current state relies on the individual staff members of each department to correctly identify the patients who will need to sign the new protective health information forms. Future state will rely on a standardized process of identification by also including a new flagging system. The project manager will be responsible for the project scopes management. The IT analyst will build, test, and implement the flagging system in the EHR, or the electronic health record, and she will also develop a one-page tips and tricks that's going to be included in the policy. We will then draft a policy that will include the following items: the purpose of the policy, the steps in identifying those patients who are nearing the age of 18 years of age, and older than 18 years of age by using this new flagging system that has been developed. The policy will also include preventive documents before the date of service, updating or how you would update demographic information appropriately, communication between the staff, and also it would include attachments such as the tips and tricks for the flagging system and a script to properly explain the documents to the patients. And lastly, this will also include a competency form. Once the policy draft has been completed, it will then be shared with the project team to discuss, provide feedback, and make any necessary adjustments. Once this is done, the subject matter expert will conduct a one-week trial in the specified departments and then incorporate that feedback to complete the final draft. The final decision on the policy will be made by the executive sponsor, and after the policy has been approved, it will then be presented at the monthly front-end staff summit in August of 2020. The project manager is going to work closely with the project team to identify and ensure that all the items or services needed for the completion of this project are procured. She will review the procurement list, and this is prior to submitting it to the contracts and purchasing department. And if the items on the list are beneficial to the project, then the decision will be made to buy the items or services. Quality management is important because you want to make sure that the deliverables or the items or whatever it is that you're introducing is working effectively. And if it's not working effectively, then you want to know why, and then move forward with fixing it or making necessary changes to make it better and make it useful. The quality assurance will be maintained by the use of the daily huddle boards, and these are what we call a daily management system board, and each department maintains their own board, and they're going to report daily the following errors: failure to correctly identify and provide correct protective health information form, failure to update demographic information, and failure to communicate to the providers with whom they can share protective health information. These errors will be uploaded by the department managers weekly into a smart sheet for tracking purposes. These errors will help to identify if there is a need for more end-user training, or if there's a revision needed to the policy, or if there's an issue with the flagging system that needs to be addressed. The data entered in the smart sheets will be sent directly to the project manager, who will assess and address accordingly. Possible risks for this project include consistency of standardizing the policy across all departments within the organization, particularly those departments who are minimally affected and may not see as many adult patients as some of the other departments. To mitigate this issue, buy-in from the executive management team and leadership at the operational level has been obtained. The project will be introduced as mandatory implementation and not optional. Another risk identified is training of staff, which can be time-consuming considering the size of the organization. Super users will be identified at the front-end staff meeting, and after successfully completing a competency test, they will be assigned to provide the trainings at their individual departments. Patient confidentiality is one of the most important things to the organization, and by taking on this project, we want to show our patients that their privacy is important to us, and we will continuously work to make sure that their privacy is protected at all times.